Hi, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Inspired Aspirations. I'm Patrick Kelly, and I'm joined by Thomas Conroy. How are you doing today, Thomas?
Doing very well. Happy Feast of the Assumption, Patrick.
Thanks. Happy Feast Day. So today we're going to talk a little bit about men's discernment. Just give you some practical takeaways that hopefully, if you're thinking about priesthood or religious life, or that idea that is sort of starting to tug on your heart and your mind, maybe we can help give you some direction. Um, Thomas, men's discernment. You have any big big points or big takeaways that you might be able to share with somebody?
First of all, is discernment should be a thing of joy and peace.
Mm-hmm.
To it involves obviously the rest of your life is what you believe God has planned for you, but God's not going to lead anywhere that is not going to ultimately bring you closer to Him.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, the end of the line, that really requires a level of trust in you that He is going to lead you there. And it's a conversation between the church, between yourself and between God. And ultimately, the idea is to bring it closer to Him.
Mm-hmm.
And just to encourage people, like if you are being called to maybe look at the priesthood, the religious life, or even look deeper in a married life or the single life, that throughout the whole process, just to ask God to really give you peace and sense of joy about where He might be leading you, wherever He leads you.
Yeah, and I would say that um, your happiness and your comfort level where you're going, and this is also important. God doesn't pull anything for your life that doesn't ultimately make you happy. But at the same time, if you're called to it, He's going to give you the grace, to answer that call and to be whatever He's called you to be. Um, and I would add that discernment. I think sometimes it kind of gets bogged down into this like, well, I'm just thinking about it, or I'm just praying about it. But there's not, that's important, of course. That's essential. It's the most crucial part of it. But there is also a sense of action that has to take place. I think that if you're thinking about religious life, or if you're thinking about priesthood, uh, you know, go and talk to somebody about it. Go talk to a priest. Go, if you have a spiritual director, talk to them about it, and see what kind of advice and so they can sort of help you sift through, what you're really thinking about and what you think God may be calling you to. If there's a particular community that you know about that you're interested in, go and visit, or if you can. With COVID, it might be a little difficult to do that right now, but at least make contact with them and learn a little bit more about their life. Um, that's something that I would say that was really helpful to me in my discernment, was just being able to talk to a priest, being able to talk to religious openly about their life, their charism, their order, and to learn more about their way of life. Because that's how you ultimately are going to find out if you're called to this and if it's something that will truly make you happy.
Yeah, exactly. I can agree. Eventually, you're going to have to talk to somebody, and
Mm-hmm.
your vocation is it's not something you decide on yourself by yourself. It's a conversation between you, your community, in the priest, and if you're going to be married, your spouse, and obviously the church, because ultimately it has to be confirmed by the church.
Yeah, I think it's important. Something that I've learned doing this whole Laboret experience is that your vocation never belongs to just you; it belongs to the entire church,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a
Yeah,
gift to the entire church, from God, but through you. And I think that's important to remember that it's not just you in this process. It's there's a bigger piece to it as well.
yeah, and like you said, you can do things like visit communities. In my particular discernment, I visited a seminary and the American House of Studies to get a better sense of who are the kind of men that are going to be doing this. If you're looking at priesthood and religious life, which we both, spoiler, we both hope to become Dominicans.
Right.
It's be getting to know the kind of people who would like to give their lives like that, a sense of clarity about, is this what I want to do? And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I totally agree with that. That's great.
Yeah, and
Uh,
just on yeah, on a more kind of practical note is also just to something I found, something is fruitful is also is just encouraging devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary, and
yeah.
in particular also Saint Teresa of Lisieux. She's a
Mhm.
supporter of priests and vocations, and to encourage again devotion to them is
Yeah.
a way of just making sure that you have everybody praying for you that you possibly can.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, like in my own discernment, the devotion to the Rosary, of course, Dominicans.
Yes,
But that was really a really important part of my own discernment, and I think what I think in some ways she prompted me into the order, through the
awesome.
praying of the Rosary. Um, but then there are other practical things that you can do. I think reading the lives of the saints is one thing that's really great. For me, I picked up when I was in college. I picked up a book called The Life of Saint Dominic that was written by
Mhm.
Bede Jarrett, who's an English Dominican in the 20th century. Um, Very short book, only about 150 pages, but beautifully written and very prayerfully so. And that really piqued my interest in learning more about the idea of what does the order of preachers do, and now I know a little bit more about where they come from because of Saint Dominic and his life. But there's also a couple of other books out there that I think can help with discernment. One that I read, which was written incidentally by two Dominicans, Father Benedict Kroll, who was the vocations director for the Eastern Province, where Thomas and I will, God willing, one day join, and Father Andrew Hover, who was also he was a priest at the Dominican House of Studies in DC, but it's called Living Sacrifice. And while it was written by two Dominicans, it's got a very general context. It's just a very practical guide to men's discernment to religious life. Takes just very practical points and questions with worldly and practical matters, but also in the spiritual realm as well. But I think it was a great place to start, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody who's thinking about entering religious life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And what it's funny is I got the counterpart. I was actually given the counterpart book to Save 1,000 Souls, and it's more focused on the diocesan priesthood. But I found it very helpful in discerning what do I want to be.
Mhm.
I kind of found that book very helpful. So I encourage it's to Save 1,000 Souls. It's by Father Brett A. Brannan, and I would highly recommend. And yeah, but regardless of what happens, is a genuine desire to be a priest or a religious, even if it doesn't end up panning out, is a grace from God. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
it happens. You don't wake up one day and it's like, wow, I want to give my life away. It's a grace. And
Hmm.
it's something to be thankful for, because
Yeah.
regardless of whether or not He ends up making you on the altar, it is a call to just deepen your relationship with Him, to deepen your
Hmm.
relationship with Him, regardless wherever that ends up leading.
Yeah, and it's all to build up the kingdom as well,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So however it is that you are called to do that.
Yeah.
Um, so
All right. Well, again, thank you for joining us on this episode of Inspired Aspirations. We really are very thankful for your participation in this project, and also is to know that we will be praying for you in the process, especially if you're considering religious life or the priesthood, or even if you're looking at possibly getting married or whatever God may be calling to you, that our prayers are with you.
mhm,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But you have to remember to think Catholic, speak Catholic, and be Catholic. See you next time on Inspired Aspirations. God bless.